Have you ever thought that true greatness is not so much getting to this level of influence where everybody serves you, but instead using whatever influence that you have to serve others? Or instead of climbing up, looking for ways to climb down to serve. One day, Jesus and his friends were at a dinner party. And before it began, something amazing happened. His friends were having this little argument, this little childish little spat about who was greater. They were saying, "I'm greater than you. No, I'm greater than you." And in the midst of that moment, Jesus got up from dinner, wrapped a towel around his waist, got down on his knees, and began to wash their feet. And his friends, they were stunned by this. You see, back then, ancient world roads were dirty and grimy and nasty, and when you entered a house, you had to have your feet washed. And the person that washed each other's feet was the lowest of the lowest of the lowest servant. In essence, Jesus was saying, hey, obviously, I have the highest position in the room, but let me show you the extent of my love. I'm willing to take the lowest position in the room and to serve you by washing your feet. And then Jesus looked him in the eyes and said, I've given you an example. You do the same. Now, the story about the YMCA has always been that we are a movement of people putting Christian principles into practice. There was once a time during the Civil War where the YMCA got together and said, how are we going to serve? How are we going to take Christian principles and put it into practice? And here's what they did. 15 YMCAs got together and said, we need to serve the soldiers on the battlefield. And they rounded up 5,000 volunteers, and they went out and they delivered hot coffee and bread and Bibles and hymnals and asked the question over and over to the soldiers, how can I serve you? Some of them even got down on their knees and wrote out the words of dying soldiers to their loved ones. And there was a woman by the name of Annie Wittenmeyer. And Annie Wittenmeyer said, I know a way that we can serve the soldiers in the battlefield. And she got together 110 of her friends, and they went out and they set up healthy kitchens to serve healthy meals to soldiers on the battlefield. In the midst of a tough battle moment, the YMCA said, we're not staying away. We are entering this tough time and we will serve. And so now here we are 160 years later, and the YMCA is still asking the question, how can we serve our communities? Are there kids that are vulnerable? Are there people that are hungry? Are there those that need to learn an essential skill? Are there practical things like gardening and taking care of communities? And so I challenge you to make a question that you ask every day. How can I serve you? How can we as a movement of YMCAs serve the communities that we've been placed in?